I'm continuing my reading here, and what I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I'm reading in a chronological order according to events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a little bit as I go along. Right now, I am reading in Exodus. This is chapter 24. Israel accepts word of the Lord by covenant. Moses sprinkles the blood of the covenant. He and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel see God. The Lord calls Moses into Mount to receive the tables of stone and commandments. And he said unto Moses, Come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice, and said, All the words which the Lord hath said will we do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar unto the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and read in the audience of the people. And they said, All that the Lord hath said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. A couple of things here. First of all, note, he says under the hill, that means at the base of the mountain. He has 12 pillars. So this does not mean the altar was built on top of these pillars. These pillars were more likely in rows leading up to the altar. He also says, he tells the people everything. They make the covenant. Then he writes it down in a book. And he rereads the book to the people. But before he reads the book, no, he has them make their sacrifices. And then he sprinkles the blood on the altar. After he sprinkles the blood on the altar, he reads the book to the people. And when they again make the covenant to be obedient, then he sprinkles the blood on the people. Now, again, I think I mentioned this in a previous video that I don't think Moses had 600,000 people and he was yelling at the top of his lungs so they could all hear him. And more like what King Benjamin did in the Book of Mormon, where he spoke so that those close could hear him, but had the words written and taken out to those who couldn't hear him and read to those people. I think it was similar to that, where the elders are the ones that actually came and spoke directly to Moses. They then took the words back to their people, back to their tribes, and delivered the words to the people. The people then covenanted, telling their covenant to the leaders, to the elders. The elders then come back to Moses, report that the people have made the covenant, have accepted the covenant, and then Moses sprinkles the blood on the leaders, not on every single individual. Now, he may have sprinkled the blood on each individual, but it wouldn't have been him personally. Too many people for that. He sent the young men out. He sent the deacons and the teachers, you might say, to pass the sacrament. Very similar idea, but now let's look at the order of things. He first sprinkles the blood on the altar. Now, the blood, of course, is a symbol of the atonement of Christ. It is by shedding his blood that Christ performed the atonement and washes us clean. But the blood has to be accepted by God. If Christ just went and killed himself, that wouldn't have been right. Now, it had to be done in the proper way, accepted by the Father as a proper sacrifice. So we have the sprinkling of the blood on the altar. This is God's half of the covenant saying, I am accepting. Not only is he accepting the sacrifice of Christ and accepting the atonement, he is accepting our covenants to take part in that atonement, to be obedient so that atonement can be effective in our lives. Then Moses reads the covenant to the people. They accept the covenant, and then he sprinkles the blood on them to symbolize that they are themselves, as part of this covenant, cleansed by the blood of Christ. The blood on the altar does not symbolize the cleansing, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think the blood on the altar symbolizes God's acceptance of the covenant. This is God's part of the covenant and man's part of the covenant, and they are both being sealed by the blood of Christ in the atonement. That's the symbology that I see here. Also note, again, the records. Moses writes the book of the covenant and then reads it. He's already told the people, why does he need to write the book? So that the covenant is known to future generations, so that there's a record of it. Again, the record, the history is vital. All the scriptures testify to the importance of the written record. Now, this book of covenant, it may be part of the Exodus. It may be just the book of the covenant was like the last 4 chapters. It could also be that it was a separate book that we no longer have today. We're not really sure about that. But let us continue. Verse 9. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw God, and did eat and drink. That sounds a little odd. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua. And Moses went up into the mount of God, and he said unto the elders, Tarry ye here for us, until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, and the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai. And the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on the top of the mountain, on the top of the mount, in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud, and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. So, again, this is an interesting thing. We told Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders all go up the mountain. Moses is separated, but all of them, 74 men, see God. But Moses tells the people, I have to go up a little farther up, so you wait here. I'm leaving Aaron and Hur in charge. They have this, while I'm gone, they have the same authority I have. Treat them like you would me. Take their word as you would my word. When I come back, we're good. But Joshua goes up with Moses. Now, Joshua doesn't go into the cloud. When the presence of God comes down and they see this great cloud of fire on the top of the mountain, Moses goes into the cloud. Joshua waits just outside the cloud. But he's the only one that goes up. He is on the mount with Moses, while Aaron and Hur and Nadab and Abihu and all the other elders, they all go back to Israel. But Joshua is taken up. This is the second time we've heard of Joshua. Joshua was in a previous chapter when they fought against the Amalekites, and you had to hold Moses' hands up. Joshua was the commander or captain of the Israelite army. He led the Israelites in the fight against the Amalekites. And that was the first time we ever hear about Joshua. Now he is called Moses' minister. meaning that Joshua was basically Moses' second in command. He was his secretary, you might say. Joshua was the guy that was with Moses from this point on all the time. He was there to help Moses in any way he could. He was his assistant. Final note, you'll notice they called 70 elders to come up into the mount. This is not a number divisible by 12. So you don't have an even number from each tribe. It's not even divisible by 13 if you want to count the two tribes of Joseph as being separate. So this was not a symbol of the tribes of Israel. This was our first record of the Quorum of the 70. Remember, the 70 is not a calling, it's an office in the priesthood. Just as much as priest is an office in the priesthood, the 70s, that is an office. These 70 elders, this is our first mention of a Quorum of 70 being organized on the earth. Now, I'm pretty sure they still had this office in the priesthood before this time, but this is the first mention of it. And I will leave that video here and see you in the next one.